Hello, hello, everybody. How's everyone doing on this fabulously warm day? Just gonna give everyone a second to come in, get myself situated. It seems very far up. Can we pull this back just a tidge to me? Hi, Teresa. We're just getting myself aligned here. There we go. That's better. I like that view better. Awesome.
Good stuff.
All right. I am so excited to share this card with you lovely ladies today. I've been wanting to do this for a couple weeks now, and of course, my life is just crazy busy here. And that's no excuse, but it is mine. Hi, Deborah. So my excuse is that I am crazy busy trying to get ready also for my week next week with all the big companies. So we've got a lot of classes from 8 in the morning till 7 at night, and it's just mayhem. So there's homework that I have to get done in prep before the classes. And then they have what they call the Hype Week. Hi, Trish. So the Hype Week is where each of the companies comes on, kind of gets us all excited about the products that we're going to be creating, show us the final results, blah, blah, blah. So it's like you have to be tuned in all the time. And as much as it is fun and I get to see all the new amazing products, it really is a lot. But, you know, it's really hard to complain when you're just crafting all day. I know you guys feel so bad for me. So I'm going to show you the products that we're going to use to make this pretty card. Hey, hi, Rose. Hi, Dana. I'm watching, but at work. Oh, it never ends for me. I know, Trish, it really does, and I'm glad that you made it. So this card looks very complicated, but it is not. I promise you, it is not. Okay? So it's just one of these fancy fold cards that we can make a million in a day kind of thing. Hi, Cindy. And I'm going to give you some ideas to do a few different variations of this. I personally feel this is going to be my Christmas card this year. Once it's all done with Christmas stuff, I think that it's going to be fabulous. Hi, Steph. So the products that we're going to use, I'm going to show you everything I am using, and then you guys can do whatever theme, whatever masculine, feminine, seasonal, whatever you want. I'm just going to show you how to create this card. I'm calling it a stepped card, an inside stepped card. I don't know what the official word name is, but it's just so interactive and fun. And then I have something else I want to share with you as well before I get started. So in our classes for next week, you might have to zoom out just a little bit. We were gifted this Olfa craft knife. Now, I have a million craft knives. I know you guys all do too. It's just one of these things that we all have a million of them of. But I really like this one because they're labeling it as a beginner craft knife. Now, I'm not a beginner in crafting, and most of you are not as well. But the thing that I really love about this is that it comes in this little stand, this little egg stand, okay? So it's going to hold it to sit in there like so. And then when you need to break off the tip, it gets broke off in this little compartment here, right here. And it gives you all the instructions on the back. And I'm going to order, I have a bunch of them on order already as a pre-order. And I'm going to make sure, I just told Gary that I need to make sure I've got the replacement blades. It does actually, it really does. It looks like half of a silly putty egg. Remember that? So what the awesome thing about this is you only have to click once to go to the next section of the blade. But only the very corner is actually the blade. I'm going to see if I can bring this up in front of the camera. So that's what I like the best. I'm going to put actually a piece of white behind it.
Here, Bev, let me zoom in.
Zoom in. See if we can get any better. So it's just the one corner that actually has the blade showing. So I personally would feel quite comfortable with Victoria, who is 8, using this. Okay, because you're only going to be using this one gentle end. The rest of the blade is absolutely covered. So I really feel that for kids, obviously you're not going to let a toddler. I mean, come on, we're going to be real here. It's got to be someone that's, you know, mature enough to actually use a blade and supervised. I sometimes need to be supervised. But I just really, really like this. So I've been using it like crazy. When you're done, you just pull it back. It snaps back, sits inside, and it's on your desk. It looks cute. I probably will decorate the little egg because I just think it's absolutely amazing. So these are all on pre-order. So I'm not sure when they're going to be here, but I will put one aside for everybody that's asking, okay? As soon as they come in. Once I know they're coming in, then I can shoot it out and tell everyone. But all the instructions are on the back, exactly how to use it. They do dumb it down a little bit, which is fine with me. Because it is called a beginner craft knife, and I'm not offended by that because I would rather know how to use it and how to break off the tips than end up cutting myself. So I'm absolutely perfect with this, okay? So that was just my little share. So for this card that we're going to do, I have just used a few pieces of scrap paper that I had laying around. It is Prima paper. I might have a sheet or two left. It isn't about the paper per se. It's about the pretty card that's inside, okay? So the products that I am using, and only because it's on my desk for no other reason, from the release party, I had a leftover Dragonfly, and I also had a leftover Bloom. So because I've been so busy, I literally just went through all my stash to see what I had left over, and that's all I'm using to make this card is leftover pieces. But just so you know, the Dragonfly comes from the Decorative Dragonfly collection that was released last month, and we're using the 2 by 1.5, and there's a die for that one as well. Now for my floral, excuse me, I'm using the 2 by 3 piece, which is this top one here. Okay, so that's what I'm using from that. And again, stamp and die for that. For my sentiment says you are so thoughtful, and I'm using the Just For You sentiment. This one right in the center here. It's one of my favorites, actually. I really do love this stamp set. So that's what I'm using there. I'm going to be using some Pink Fresh Bling. I'm going to be, because I'm working with purple, I'm going to be using Distress ink in Dusty Concord. I'm also going to be using for my greenery Vivid Chartreuse, which is my favorite green from Archival from Ranger. Okay, so this is what we're going to color my leaves with. You need a bone folder, you need a scoring tool, you need a Wink of Stella or a glitter pen. Obviously, you need a ruler. You're going to use your scoreboard. You are going to use your trimmer of some kind, whether it be a guillotine or a larger trimmer, whichever you have handy. Because I'm going to be shaping some of my flowers and my dragonfly, I have the Heartfelt shaping mat as well as my stylus. I have a craft mat for coloring because I don't want to get purple all over my tabletop. And I have some bling that I'm going to be using to decorate with my butterfly and my sentiment. And these, hi Julie, how are you in England? These are from the Tailored Expressions new little pods. I'm going to call them pods. You get 9 in each pack. I'm low of the dark purple one, but I do have more coming in as soon as they are restocked at Tailored Expressions. So these, you can get all these different pretty colors, so we're going to use those. Of course, I have my dry baby wipe, because you have to have a dry baby wipe. I have my Dries Clear Glue, scissors, pop dots, you know, the usual suspects. So I have gone ahead and cut a few things ahead of time just to save you guys a little bit of time, but I'm going to make sure that I walk through everything for you and that everything is going okay. I'm just going to check my comments for a second here. We're good, all up to date. All right, so for my purple, I used Bouquet from Basil cardstock, and I cut this piece of paper 8 inches wide by 6 inches high. So you just need one piece of cardstock that is 8 inches long by 6 inches wide. You're going to need a piece of pattern paper. Now, if you're using a piece of pattern paper that doesn't have a specific pattern, it doesn't matter which way you cut it, whether you go this way or you go this way. But if you have a printed piece of paper that needs to be in the correct orientation, then we are going to cut this piece 10 inches long. So 10 inches long by 6. Okay, and again, if you're doing a dot or something that it doesn't matter if you cut it this way or that way, but if you're using a plaid or a specific pattern, then do make it 10 inches wide by 6, okay? And then I also cut a piece for my panel, and my panel piece, this ends up to be an A2 card. I should have started at that kind of, it's a little bigger than an A2. It's 4 inches wide by 6, so it's a 4 by 6 card. So A2s are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So we are going to cut the piece that goes on the front of our card. We're going to cut it 3 7/8 wide by 5 7/8 long. Now again, this is all going to determine what kind of pattern paper you use. If it was just something that, you know, was a dot and didn't matter, then you just use whatever way you cut it, okay? So the first thing we're going to do, everyone's got that? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to score our card base. And I know a lot of you are going to call me on this because I just recently complained saying that I didn't like to have to mark my scoreboard, and it really bothers me. But one of the classes that I had to prep for next week required me to be able to see the line, and I had to run my pencil in here, and I'm really not happy about it, but it's done, so I'm gonna live with it. So with your cardstock, I want you to lay your cardstock base down. If you're using textured paper, I want it to be on the upside, the textured on facing you. And we're going to lay it across the 8. Okay, so it's 8 by 6. And we are going to score this at 4. So just remember, always start a little back from, don't push your paper right up to the top because you can't catch the edge of your paper. So just pull it back a little bit. And you're going to score this at 4, okay? And I'm using Tim Holtz's rub-on tool because it's my favorite. Now, the reason I like to do this on the good side is this has already broken fibers from the cardstock, which is going to prevent tearing. So when I start to fold this over, none of my paper is going to start to tear. I find if you do it the other way, it does. So I'm just going to give you that for 1 second. I'm going to need it again. And then with our bone folder, again, don't always just assume. You want to make sure you got one corner that's absolutely perfect. Lay it down. Be sure it's good. And then go ahead and crease with your bone folder. I'm using the Dress My Craft Ergo bone folder. I really like it because it really fits well in my hand. So this is what your card base is going to look like. And we're just going to set this aside. So now we're going to bring in our long piece of pattern paper. And again, this is 10 inches wide by 6 inches high. Now this is where the magic happens, where everyone thinks that this card is just so hard. It really isn't. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring back our scoring board. We're going to lay this across the 10. So we want the longest section of the paper going across the top. Okay, so this is 6 inches, this is 10. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scoring marks. And the first one is going to be at 2 inches. The next one's going to be at 3 inches. Again at 4. We're going to do it again at 5. Again at 6, right down that pencil line. And again at 7. And then the last one will be at 8. Okay. So if you're working with a double-sided piece of paper, you can press fairly hard. Just be careful. I will say with Heartfelt Creations paper, it does tend to crack. So just be a little careful with your paper. This is Prima paper and it's quite heavy. So I'm able to actually press firm enough on it. I'm just gonna take a sip of water. I had to turn my air off and it's a little warm in here. So I'll give you guys time to do that. So the very first fold, now it's going to be a little hard for you to see, but we do have the 2, the 3, the 4, all the way to 8. So your very first fold, I want you to create a valley. Okay, so with the valley, we are going to fold it like this. Then your next one is going to be a mountain. So it's basically a concertina. I can never say the word fold. And you're just going to continue. The next one will be a valley and so on. So you start with a valley. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Whew. Sorry guys, gonna sneeze. Okay, so we're gonna continue to score all of these and crease these. And we wanna make sure that they're really well creased. Okay. And then our last one is going to be a valley as well. I'm just gonna crease all these. Sorry, it looked like I was a little bit out of view. So when you're done, you should be able to fold it up like this. Give it a really nice crease. And that's the back side of our paper. Okay. Just want to make sure that this is correct. So we have this one. And we got that one. We got that one. Yeah. Okay. Does that look right? I'm double questioning myself here now. I think I've missed a fold. I think that's the problem. There we go. I missed a fold. See, they're so hard to see. Just getting this all creased here. There we go. There we go. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have 3 mountains in the middle, like this, and then you're going to have 2 pieces that are flat on the outside. It is hard to see the lines for sure. So because I like to ink my edges, I am going to put my blending tool on, and I am going to quickly just ink all of my edges using the Dusty Concord. And you kind of want to do this ahead of time, just so that you have the ability to get into all the creases and corners before it's glued down. If you're not an inker and you like the more clean look, that's perfectly fine. I love you anyway. Not a big deal. Okay, and we're gonna go in here. Now, because we're going to be adding some little squares, I wanna do some definition inside of my mountains as well, on the top of my mountains. So I'm gonna ink each of the top of my mountains. I gotta remember to see if I'm in view here. I always forget. Okay. So there are our 3 mountains, and we have our paper in the correct orientation. Now what we're going to do is we are going, and I'm just going to use Dries Clear because it's going to allow me time to move everything. And the only thing that we are going to be gluing down is the first 2 inches and the last 2 inches. Okay? So the easiest way to do this is just have the first mountain on the wrong side, and we're just going to put a little bit of glue just around here. And once you have your top corner lined up, and I didn't really do a lot of, I kept it pretty the measurement quite to the card. So having the dries clear just gives me that time to allow me to move it if I need to. And then using my dry baby wipe, I'm going to wipe off all the excess. And then just take a quick second and be sure that you don't have any glue leaking out from the back, because we do not want the middle section glued. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on the last flap, just around, whoops, got a little hairy carry there. Okay, so now what you want to do is pull all this accordion back, and again, you're going to line up your top corner and just let it fall until it's in the right place, just like so. Okay, so wipe off any excess glue that you have with your dry baby wipe. It's a little hard to get on the inside, but because there's enough room, just run your baby wipe underneath it. So now when you fold your card, you now have your inside step. So do you see how easy this is? Now I just noticed that I missed a little valley here. I'm just going to turn this the wrong way so I can get this done in here, because, you know, if you're going to do it right. Okay, just because the purple really shows up really nice. So once we get all this and we get this to close, so when you go to mail this, this is going to be a flat card. Now I have noticed that I'm a little off on my paper here, but that's okay. I can just trim that little excess off. So never worry if you do that. When I craft, I normally stand as opposed to sitting, so I think that's part of my problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ink the edges of the front of my card and get it down. So again, we're just going to do a nice little edge in the Dusty Concord to follow through with all the rest of my colors. I like adding just a little bit of the contrasting color. Now for this one I did cut this just a little bit smaller, so it's gonna show a little bit of the purple underneath. And I don't know about you, but I like that look. Do you guys do that as well, or do you cut it always exactly to the right size? I always like to have a little bit left over. So I'm always going to line up one side first, let the piece of paper fall, and it is guaranteed to fall in the correct placement. Use my baby wipe, get rid of any excess glue that might leak out. Okay. And there we go. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? I love the paper. I love the card. It's not as hard as it looks. Everyone today that saw it was like, oh my gosh, that's going to be so hard. It's really not. So to do the inside of the card, now I wanted to give a few ideas here. I was thinking today when I was getting everything prepped for this, that this at Christmas time, if you're that family that sends family photos in all of your cards, wouldn't it be beautiful to put on each one of these little tabs in here, or even every other one, photos instead of pattern paper? So if you wanted, you could actually make this into a themed card. So at Christmas, you could have mom and dad, you could have the kids, you could have just the grandkids. If you did a Halloween theme, you could do some pumpkins, you could do the kids decorated up at Halloween in their costumes. It is endless. But then if you want to just keep it where it's just nice and pretty and just whatever season that you want, we're just going to carry on with a few more pieces of our paper. So I've gone ahead and I've already cut. You are going to need 4, actually you're going to need 5. You're going to need 5 pieces of cardstock. You're the same color as your card base. You're going to need 5 of those, and they're going to be cut 2 inches by 2 inches squared. You're going to need some coordinating papers, and I cut these at 1 7/8. No, I'm sorry, 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. So there are my 4 for the inside. And then one of them is going to have a sentiment or a photo or whatever you decide to do on the inside. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with these. And again, I'm going to ink up my edges quick just to get these about the same color as everything else. I'm not going to ink my cardstock, but just my pretty paper because I don't like the core showing. And I really do like the distress look. Who am I kidding? I'm trying to be all technical with you guys, saying the core and all this. No, it's just that I like doing it. I like the finished look. I'm not going to lie to these guys. They know me. All right. I think we'll do that side. Now, I did stamp ahead of time. I did do all of the things ahead. So all I'm going to do, I did not pop any of these onto the backgrounds just because I feel it's already thick enough, and if you don't want to have to pay extra postage, then I think just having these glued down would be perfectly fine. So we're just going to add all of our 1 3/4 squares onto our 2 by 2 cardstock pieces. And again, if there's a photo, a picture, anything like that, you're going to want to make sure you have the right orientation. We're just going to add these on. This is such a fun, pretty card. And again, once you get the dries clear on there, you can go ahead and have the wiggle room that if you need to get it off there, that it's not straight. This is why the dries clear glue is so amazing, and yet it is so strong. So once you have these all done, now while I'm doing this, I also want to let everyone know that if you leave a comment like the video, you will be entered in to win the card I am making tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So I will do a draw for this card as I do with all of my demos at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Now, the way that I did the inside, I wanted my sentiment in the middle. Again, totally up to you. So what I found the easiest to do was I placed my 2 outside ones first. And when you're putting these in, you don't want it to be caught too far in the valley. You want it to be just a little east of the valley, okay? So just a little right of the valley so that it's going to fold properly for you. And I've come down probably not quite, maybe 1/4 of an inch. I don't even think it's that. And you're only going to want to find out in your finger where your measurement is and know that you're only going to put glue on this side, just like this. Okay, so it's kind of one of these winging it kind of things. And then you're just going to place this down. Be sure that you're against the valley, but not in the crease. And then just secure it. Okay, so that it's going to look like this. So when you open it, you have a floating little square. Thank you, Rose. And then I'm going to do the same at the bottom. So we want to make sure that we have the same amount of distance because we want things to look all fluid and nice. And we're just going to lay this down against the seam into the valley, press it, be sure that it's all caught. Look at the back, as I have just noticed that I've got a little bit of glue at the back. So you want to wipe that off because you don't want that to get stuck onto the next valley or the next mountain. Okay, so now when you're doing this one, there's not a science to this. All you want to do is to be able to see that when this is in onto the next mountain, that it actually looks like the sentiment is between the 2 front ones. Okay, so again, find our little spot. We know we don't want to go too far past here. And with the Dries Clear, this is what gives you the wiggle room to be sure that it's where you want it. And if it's not, you can get it off. Check your back. Now, before you get going too far, what I want you to do is I want you to fold this and be sure that none of these tabs are going past the edge of your card. Okay, if it goes back, you know, past a little tiny bit, that's okay. It's not going to matter, but don't have it like sticking way out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set your last set on, and they basically just go to the same place as the first ones on the last mountain. Okay, so once you kind of figure out where everything needs to be, just bump it up right up close to the valley without going inside the valley. And be sure that as you fold it, you know it's going to not go past the card. Be sure you've taken off all the extra adhesive. Okay, I play with mine all the time just because I want to be sure that everything is in the right place. And it's such an easy card. And again, we're going to do the last one, and it's just going to get set on there. And because you've scored it already, you don't really have to worry too much about anything. You know, it's movable. It's meant to move, which is why we never secured any of the accordion at the top here. Okay, so when you close it and open it, now if you had photos in here, as soon as Grandma and Grandpa open it and they see all the beautiful grandkids, isn't that beautiful? You could do the back of the little squares as well if that was something that bothered you and you wanted to have that done. I'm not going to do it for this card. I'm kind of quite pleased with how it turned out. So now to decorate the front, I'm just going to do a little bit of quick coloring. So I'm going to bring in my mat. I'm going to put my pin in my Dries Clear so it doesn't get all crazy on me. Now for my flowers, I'm not going to do anything that is, you know, crazy. I'm not doing special coloring. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just going to do, I'm not a colorist. You guys all know that. The one thing I don't have is a little piece of paper. Okay, so I always like to have a little scratch pad here because when I'm coloring, I want to block off things that I may not want to get other color on because I'm using a dauber. Okay, so you can just mask off different areas of what it is that you're coloring so that it doesn't then get colored. And I'm just going to go in and decorate my pretty flowers in the purple. And this is how we do it in the release party classes. We don't overstress about, you know, a whole lot of things. If you happen to tear a bloom, don't worry about it. That's why there is glue. So we're just going to go in, make sure that we don't get any of this done. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. And then for my last little flower here, I just want to make sure that none of my greenery is going to turn purple. So just by masking that off with a piece of scratch paper helps to control where you're putting your color. And I'm not too overly fussy that, you know, I got a little bit of purple on the leaves. I don't really care. I'm not crazy about that. And then for my greenery, I'm using the Vivid Chartreuse. And this is how I color. I am not a professional colorist at all. I just like to do what I do and enjoy it. I don't stress about it. I think too many of us get in our heads. Like, that is so pretty, and like it wasn't hard to do at all. Now for my dragonfly, I'm just going to put a little bit of the Vivid Chartreuse just on his body in the center and kind of bleed it out just a little bit on the wings so that it looks just like this. And then coming in with my Dusty Concord, I'm going to have a light touch first because I don't want to lay too much color. Just like when you get your hair colored or anything like that, you can always add color, you can't remove it. So start light. If you feel you need to go back in, you can always add a little extra later, as opposed to going so heavy that now it's just a big blob of purple. So, and having a light touch enables me to leave a little bit of white where my green and my purple met, so that there's a little bit of highlight. It looks like there's a highlight there, and it really isn't. It's just that I had a really light touch when I was doing this. So now that I'm happy with it, I'm just going to go back. I'm going to ink my edges just a little darker to give it a little bit more contrast on his wings, just so that he really shows off really nice. Isn't that pretty? And that's just like simple coloring. This is kindergarten coloring. This is not professional. I leave that professional stuff to Karen Heathcote. I just like to play. All right, so we're gonna do just a little bit of shaping. Now, I'm gonna tell everyone, if you're not familiar with Heartfelt, you guys know I love Heartfelt. I do their release parties every month. They're a big part of my life. I don't like the Heartfelt Creations logo on my mat, because if you're actually shaping on it, you get a different indent. It is hard and I don't like it. So I always try to remind people, turn it over and work on the back side so you don't see the logo. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to randomly go in with my stylus, and I'm going to use the professional term of pokey method. That's a professional word, pokey. And I am just going to poke the back of my paper. And as you can see, I've got my one hand away. I'm not holding it, because if I hold it, I'm squishing it down. I've got my other hand at the back. And you guys know in class, I'm always telling you, move that hand. And then we're going to turn it over. Now, there's no way to be able to put this onto the card when it's this bent. So you want to create a glue spot. So just somewhere randomly, kind of poke down. And it's going to make the flower look like it's alive instead of just a flat piece of paper. Okay? So it's just a quick little way to shape. We're going to do the same with the wings. And with the wings, I'm just going to do a little rub around the corners because I really don't want them to be too creased. And I'm going to rub his little tummy and just kind of poke and pull and see how he becomes inverted. So now he really does look, let me get a piece of paper. Now he really does look like he's ready to take off the page. Okay, so just little quick techniques to do, simple little things that take a flat image and make it into a shaped image. I wish I could show you quite how dimensional that is. So you can kind of see like how deep his little wings are off the paper. Okay, now the one thing I did forget, and I actually told Gary to remind me, so it's his fault. Because we made the wings dimensional, you want to put a little bit of purple behind so that if you've got that nosy Parker that always criticizes your cards, that they're not going to see the white on the back. And then obviously you would do this before. So we're just going to kind of do that again. So now you have it so that if anyone happens to look at the back side of your card, it's going to be purple. Okay. So now just a fast, quick little, let's move this out of the way, bring back my card. Now I am going to put a few pop dots behind my flowers because I do want them to be raised. So I'm just using my small little pop dots. These are my ultimate favorite. They're the perfect size, but I'm only doing the flowers. I'm not doing the base of the stem because I need it to be secure. So remember to push nice and firm on your pop dot so that it releases the back. Poke off the back. There we go. And now I'm going to put a little bit of glue down at the bottom because I want this to be fairly flat on my card. And then you can kind of decide where, if you want it right down at the base, do you want it in the middle, you might want it off to the side. I'm just going to kind of go with where I want it. And no, I did not put my Dries Clear on the back of my Pop Dots because for this small little thing, I knew that it was going to be okay where they are. Okay, so if you saw this in real life, you would see all the different places where you can put things underneath my flowers. I do not secure everything down and make it look like a sticker because I don't like stickers. I like things to be elevated. I like them to look like they are alive and movable. My little dragonfly, I am just going to put a little bit of Dries Clear on the back of his body. And I'm going to place him down on my stem. And if you can notice, I'm wiggling him. And the reason I'm doing this is this causes a suction between the paper and the Dries Clear, and it is it is stuck now. So just always remember just to take one side of whatever it is that you're putting, whether it's a flower, and just kind of do a little shimmy shake, and now it is stuck. So it's not going to move. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bling inside of my dragonfly's tummy. And I'm using the Glacier from Pink Fresh, if I can grab one. Sometimes it's easier just to use a wet finger. And I'm just going to put a little dot of glue in his tummy. And I'm going to try to pick up a bling, put his little bling down in there, and he's going to be nice and iridescent. You should make this card, Laren. It is super easy. It is not hard to do. Now I also have a little bow, which I'm not sure where I want to put the bow now that I'm using the bigger dragonfly, but I kind of think I might like him here. So I think I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of my bow. And again, you could use a glue dot. If I was crafting alone, I would be using a hot glue gun. I've left my tails long, as I do in all of my bows. When you see me make my bows, I always leave my tails long because I don't know how long or short I'm going to want to leave them. So I'm going to let this kind of dry first. I'm not convinced I actually like that bow up there. That kind of looks like he's pooping a bow. I don't even know if I'm going to put a bow on this one. I kind of am not sure about that. So we'll see how it goes. And then on the inside, I'm just going to lay this flat for a second. And I'm going to put a few of these little purple bling just inside underneath my sentiment because there's a lot of white space. I purposely stamped my sentiment a little higher in my square so that I would have room to put a little bit of bling. So I'm just going to put 3 little spots of glue, and I'm going to place my little bling inside. And again, this just adds a little tiny touch of something that, you know, people like to see the attention to detail. They really do. They really appreciate all the extra work that we put into these. And then we're just going to wipe off a little excess glue that I have here, like so. Recrease my pieces, and there we have this card. Isn't that pretty? And it really wasn't that hard. If you wanted, you could definitely pop underneath the dragonfly or any of the flowers, whatever that you are doing on your card. If it's a Christmas card, imagine a little red truck. Now, I also wanted to mention that you could do it in a landscape mode as well. If you had a larger, say, a red truck or you know, something that you wanted, a big sleigh, you could do it on the side as well and have it stand like a tent card. It's still going to open the same on the inside. So I hope that you guys try my inside stepped card, and I would love to see what you do, how you create, share in our creative space. Be sure to leave a comment, like the video, and we will enter you into the draw for this card. And I will do the draw tomorrow at 4 o'clock at end of day. Oh, the last thing I wanted to do, sorry, I forgot, was I wanted to put some glitter on my wings so that they look iridescent, because dragonflies are iridescent. And because I love it so much, I might put a little bit on the flowers just to kind of add a little bit of sparkle. So I'm not sure if you can see that, how pretty that sparkles. It's this time of the day when we don't have great lighting in here, but you can see the pretty sparkle on there. Isn't that gorgeous? So that is just done with a Wink of Stella, or I'm using the Spectrum Noir clear overlay. It's one of my favorites. So please, I would love to see what you guys do. I would like to see your different themes that you do. And I hope you enjoyed watching us create this card, and I hope that you get to create one. So you guys have a lovely evening. I'm going to go in and have dinner, and then I'm going to go sit on the deck and enjoy this warmth. And I will see you guys tomorrow. So take care. Bye.